WeArEuS, and this is a long way. Well, not really, actually, now that I think about it. I remember now what we did last episode, and this is actually very close to where we ended that episode, in a sense. The, so, last episode, if for some reason you didn't watch, if you missed out on the movie, you won't understand the sequel. I guess that's where I come in. So, last episode, I went on a journey. It was long. It was enjoyable. And then I reached the end, and all of that went away. Except for the long part. I found my way into the abyss through a... Is that you? Why are you so noisy? I found my way into the abyss after clearing a spire aimed at, I guess, purging the Skull Knight from existence, because if you did watch that episode, yeah, he wasn't there when I went back, which upset me greatly because I was ready to do someone some harm. From the spire, we entered the abyss, as I said, and there were, 5 puzzles, and I guess the 5th one is technically an obstacle course. And I cleared all of it. With style, in fact. And I get to the end of it. I know something good's waiting for me. I get to the end, and I'm ready. I'm tense. I'm anxious, but oh, I am so ready for whatever is going to be handed to me. And I get nothing. I get a, you don't belong here yet. Come back later. When you belong here. Because this is not the time. And I become real sad, you know? Real sad, like terribly sad. So, after ending the episode, I jump off a cliff. Now, it's not really a cliff per se. I just jump off the abyss and plummet into this desert region, where I proceeded to spend... I'm sorry, what hit? Did I just get attacked by a porcupine? Why would there be a porcupine in the desert? I wasn't paying attention. I was too busy being focused on the RP wall and telling the story. So I wasn't paying enough attention to what was going on. I saw the thing. Noted porcupine. Cool. Walking on. And then I start taking damage, and well, that just throws a monkey wrench into everything. Anyway. So I jump off the abyss, plummet down to this area because I wanted to go look for a single nexus. I just wanted to find a nexus that I could teleport to so I could then go back to the other place where the Skull Knight was and hope and pray that he was still there to kill. And he wasn't. But I didn't find that out until so much later. Because, as you can see, I've been a little busy here. So, this is the spire that I did last episode, all the way over here. It then leads to the abyss high above, and I'm not going to bother showing that because it makes me sad. I don't remember where I dropped specifically. Frankly, from the look of it, it was probably up here where I ended up. And I just kept traveling in random directions, killing whatever came to me, because I'm sure somehow, some way, it was deserved. That is when I ended up down here. And ooh, boy, let me tell you about down here. I hate this region so much because of the heat. I mean, I thought being frozen was incredibly annoying CC until I was set on fire by the guy that used to live here. Well, it wasn't technically his fault. It's more the fault of the area itself. And let me show you, before I fully get into who used to live here and what happened to him. As you can see, I'm already burning. As you can see, I have to do that to get out of it. Now, it's as much CC as being frozen, except you're taking damage. And if you're fighting a boss, you don't want to be giving the guy any advantage in the damage area. Especially when you're fighting a sorcerer who uses fire. Now, I don't remember this guy's name. He should be in the journal. Factions, territory, creatures, bosses. Over here in Crimson Desert. Samsara the Sandwatch? Never heard of it. Knowledge. There he is. Wordplay the Ancient. An ancient being returned to the world through the power of an artifact. In the Crimson Desert lives an ancient of legend who burns anyone who stands in their path to ash. Legend foretells that when it reunites with its comrades, it will conquer the entire continent. I just happened to cross this guy. I was treated to a cutscene, and then he attacked me. So, I did what any good person would do, and I ran for my life. Because I did not have a nexus anywhere near here to come back to after he kicked my teeth in. So, I ran. I ran hard, I ran far, I ran long. For a little bit, he chased me. That was concerning, and then he disappeared. It became less concerning. I found a nexus. I don't remember where, I don't particularly care. There are apparently 2 right next to this arena. That is the weirdest arrangement. Why are you still out there? I don't care. I don't care. Let's just not do that. There we go. What was I saying? Right. It's weird that there's an arrangement of nexus. Psi? I don't particularly care for Nexi, so we'll go with Nexus. No, we're not. I don't like Nexuses either. There is a weird arrangement of There are two. There are two nexus very close to this arena, which is fine. Weird, but fine. They are not the ones I found until right before I was ready to actually face this guy. I went off and killed some other things in other places and, frankly, had a really good time. Picked up a lot of loot. Haven't found anyone to sell it to, but I also discovered how to pickpocket finally. That was something I wanted to do last episode, but was it last episode? It might have been the episode before they run together. It was something I've been wanting to do since I have the glove of super thieving. And I guess you could say greater thieving. Anyway. Apparently all you do is bump into people, but you have to be moving quickly enough for it to trigger the intent to pickpocket. Also, I accidentally killed some people. I did a whole quest for some sand people out here, and I fell asleep part way through it because I had just been playing for so long. I know I'm getting off track of the previous business, and there's a weird burning smell coming from over there. That is just the most delicious thing ever. But we'll come back to it, as it's an entire circle. So I did a small quest where they wanted to figure out who had stolen from them, and because of course my name stretches far and wide, like your mom, I agreed to help. Well, they knew who I was, then they asked me to help, and I agreed because I would probably be rewarded. If not, I would wipe them all out, because I could, and there would be no one to stop me. What ensued was a lot of question asking, which is fine. And, of course, just along the way, you're naturally paying attention to what they're saying. And I was. But I was also holding down the fast forward button because since I wasn't recording, the specifics didn't particularly matter in that I can read quickly. I don't have to let them speak normally to read what they're saying. So I just fast forwarded through it to save myself the excessive amount of time and the awkward pauses that may or may not have existed between sentences in their conversation. You have to speak to, I think, 5 people or something like that. 5 people or so, I should say. And eventually you go back to the guard who asked you to help. And you relay what you've learned. I think there's like only 2 options and one of them is wrong. As I said, I fell asleep. I think it was during the last 2 people that I needed to speak to. So I had no idea what they had to say. I went up to them, started the conversation. Darkness. I come to, conversation's over. I move on like I had been playing and nothing had ever happened in between. Go to the next person. Blackout. Come to at the very end of what they were saying. Something about someone having gambling debts. That's literally all I had. I didn't even note the name because, again, I was still winding up from having been asleep. So not all functions were online. Apparently the last thing to do was to go talk to the guy and report my findings, which require you to have been paying attention. So I knew I was going to have a bad time. Unfortunately for him, I'm just insane enough to do it. And of course, I will admit, the first time I interacted with him, I backed out before I went through with it It was the final two questions, or interrogations, that's the word. It was the final two interrogations, and I had no idea. That was where I had fallen asleep. I had nothing. I'm pretty sure, based on the way he responded to me, that no, I think I actually got all of it right. Because the way he responds makes you think you did something wrong, but then he goes on and it's basically that he's hinting that someone else has done something wrong. I think it was akin to something you said doesn't sit right with me. And I thought I had done something wrong and I was going to, well, not get paid. They wouldn't like me when I'm not paid. But I would have also failed the task, so I couldn't really genocide their people for that, anyway. Regardless, I did figure it out. I did get my reward. It was not worth it. Well, that's not true. I discovered, incidentally, that it is worth 38 silver. This kinetic boat here. I don't particularly care. This is something you're supposed to... It's a decoration. I don't care about this stuff. But it sells real nice. And I do like that. I could always use more silver. Then, after that, I go wandering off looking for... Oh, I also realized a couple of things, but... Oh, well, I guess I can... No. No, we haven't gotten to that point in the story yet. I did so much. I mean, the view from here doesn't make it look like I did a lot, but I did so much. I also don't understand how this stuff over here is exposed, but I have no connection to it in this part of the area. That's weird. Moving on. Where is it? Ah, here it is. So, apparently something I got from the... What's his name? Something I got from... From one of the bosses at the very start of the game, the robot with the drill arms. Apparently, the thing it drops is a... How do I put it? It's a map of gold veins across the continent. I think that should be correct, right? Continent? Anyway, across the continent that it drilled itself. That unlocked information on places like this. Gold mines. And there's not just a little bit of gold in there. I mined that place for a good bit using force palm because the drill is just too slow and I can't be bothered. And it worked, so that's good. But the point is, I went all the way over here. Wait, what do you mean they're blockaded by the Entumbra order? I never... What? How? I walked all through that building, or that area, and I never saw Entumbra. Not inside, not outside. And to find the gold vein, you have to go outside. And it's down at the base of it. Through a wall you have to break. I never saw any Entumbra at all. At all. Yeah, that's not. So maybe they're somewhere in here? Anyway, I. Didn't we see. Didn't we see last episode, or one before that, the Antumbra Order? We came across a memory of the Antumbra Order saying that they brought ancient beings back to life or something like that, and they called them a specific name. I have the memory, I just don't care to go looking for it. So I figured, yeah, there'd probably be things like that across the continent. I didn't imagine I'd run into one here. Which brings us back to a hot dog and Pywel. This fight was a mess. It was absolutely brutal. Between getting CC'd by the way, this entire fight, you are in an arena. You can't come out here where things are normal because the border of the arena is everywhere that will set you on fire. So I had to deal with that through the entire fight. I don't have a means of decreasing heat buildup. And even if I did, I highly doubt it would actually work because this place is constantly hitting you with fire damage. Not just heat, but actual fire damage. It's basically standing on top of a bonfire, just right on top of it, and then trying to turn down the heat. I don't imagine there's anything you could do that would actually reduce this, aside from having a specific armor set that just negates heat entirely. So you're basically just wearing an air conditioner on your back or something, which could be cool for sure. No pun intended. But I don't have that. So I did what any normal person would do, and I fought through the pain. Unfortunately, Pywel was a motherfucking maniac. An absolute maniac. A degenerate for fire. And he floats. He didn't when he died. But while he lived, he floated. It wasn't as annoying as the other guys, especially the ones we fought last episode. But there were times where he would float out of range. I don't know how the devs thought. There's probably something I don't have that would help deal with that. But as I do not have it, I must make do with what I do have. And what I do have is the ability to pin someone down with enough damage and interrupts that they can't really go flying around willy-nilly. However, that damage had a limit. The interrupts had a limit. And Pywel was capable of attacks that required you to go run for your life. 2, 3 of them I can think of off the top of my head, due to them being memorably, apocalyptic in scope. He had an ult, too. He used it twice, I'm sure, in the fight where I killed him. Didn't hit me with it once. Otherwise, I would have died. I don't have that much health. His main attack, the main source of my frustration and agony until I finally overcame it, was the ability to summon, 50 meatballs in the air and then just fire them at you in a random spray pattern because bystanders don't matter. Of course, there were none, but I'm just saying. It was a spray and pray, and somebody out there was listening, because by God, that thing hit me most of the time. And if it hits you and you don't have enough health to outlast it, or the damage over time being done to you by the arena lowers your health just enough, you die instantly. And so it was. The majority of the time he would use it, I would die instantly. The times I didn't die, I would dodge shuffle the absolute frick out of it. Something you'd only see in basketball games, I imagine. Football games. But that sort of stuff was rare because, as I said, it would fire randomly. You were the ultimate target, but he hated the ground too, so you both would catch business. And it was extremely annoying. It could be interrupted with the force palm, but it requires such timing that once you see the animation and you're in the middle of an attack, the window itself is difficult to see pass by. I've managed to interrupt him twice, and neither of those times occurred in the fight where I killed him. So it became an unreliable tactic. I threw that out the window. He also had another attack where he would... Well, there was one that just caught me on the wrong side of the pillow. I was suffering from the I'm on fire CC, and he whipped out a javelin made of fire, or probably more like molten... I don't want to say molten fire. He pulled out a javelin that was obviously very hot, and while I was CC'd, he threw it in my belly. I died. Now that particular attack is very, very easy to dodge, and he didn't use it all that often, but when he did and I wasn't CC'd, it didn't land. Being CC'd was the primary issue in the fight, though. Oh, right. So, the way I did deal with the spray and pray meatballs was obvious. And if you managed to catch enough of them, he would just take so much stagger damage, in addition to the damage of the attack itself, which I never noted because I was too busy trying to see him through the swirling and the meatballs and the heat, and just trying to get the attack out before I got CC'd, and all of that, spirit was just wasted. Granted, it would have effectively guarded me against the damage, but still, there was an additional intent, and without it coming to fruition, it would have felt like the effort was wasted. So part of my strategy became trying to utilize that in order to defend myself against the meatballs. You can't immediately flow into that. You can't immediately go into focus while attacking. And so there's a window where you have to just stop, wait, and then focus. And then you have to put in the analog stick rotations to activate it. And it doesn't activate immediately because it wants to make sure that you're sure you want that to happen. So considering that delay and the fact that the windup for the meatball pizza he's about to drop on you is very fast, you have probably a span of about 2.5 seconds before he kills you instantly through the meatball barrage. And you have to stop so precisely, so immediately, get into focus and start the animation so accurately. It becomes, it's harrowing. Like you are riding the thin line trying to pull that off. But that was key to the strategy behind me actually killing him at the end. There was a problem, however, and I realized it pretty quickly. I didn't have enough spirit to keep pulling that off and trying to restore it. Requires that I use focus, right? Naturally. However, there were, to be fair, there were opportunities to do it where he would just, why is there something dead over here? That's the desert for you. There were opportunities to restore focus. There were times where he would just float back and forth over there, and usually it was when he was out of range that I would try to restore my focus, which makes sense. If I can't put out damage, I may as well get something out of the time he's giving me. Unfortunately, if you give him that sort of space, he will eventually, one of two things will happen. And both things can ultimately occur. If he wanders around the arena and you aren't close to him, he will teleport back to the center, close to the ground where you can hit him, which is great. Something you can abuse to make his behavior more consistent. That's what I did as part of the fight where I killed him. I had to reset him twice, I think, in order to keep laying the smackdown on him. But in between, I had to restore focus. And during the course of me learning how he behaved, I observed him teleport back to the center, then, wander off again around the arena, teleport back to the center, wander around again. And then came the time he used the ult for the first time. His ult is some nasty business, to be sure. I just remembered another tactic I utilized against the meatball barrage, but we'll get back to that. Because, we'll get back to that. Because it does overlap with the guy's ult. His ult was gross. Basically what he would do, he'd become unstoppable. You can't interrupt him through any means, just like certain other bosses. But it's got such a long wind-up, you can plainly see it's coming. The world darkens, he becomes the focal point, and he summons a bunch of garbage in the air. And so you know it's going to be a good time. Then, he catches you by surprise by shooting earth at you along the ground. I don't know if it rifts more like, I guess. He shot rifts at me along the ground. I saw them coming. Didn't really have much I could do about it, though. It was the first time I had encountered it. After that, I only died to that one more time, and that's because I was testing a theory. But just the ground, the little rifts hitting me, killed me. I didn't have a lot of health. but I still didn't expect to get blown up like that. Maybe I had taken substantial enough damage from the arena itself that it was low enough for him to kill me. Because there were times that I've managed to survive stuff that had killed me before, but I needed to be full health for that. Anyway, after the ult killed me, I was still able to see what would happen if it hadn't killed me with the first salvo. And what would follow thereafter was a spectacular light show. He would summon additional meatballs. He would try to put them on your pizza. But then you would also have to face off against, I guess, plumes of lava shooting up into the sky around him if you tried to get close. I never bothered with any of that. Instead, what I learned to do was not be on the ground. And instead of dealing with that crap, for some reason for some reason the controller stopped working. Instead of being on the ground, I put myself in the air. Now, it's not a 100% certainty that it will work, but it worked every single time against his ult. Yeah, it worked every time against his ult. Against the meatball barrage, the normal meatball barrage, I got hit once. It was heartbreaking. I see 2 more things over there smoldering now. I can't help those who won't help themselves. I had already figured out that getting off the ground was probably one of the better ideas for the meatballs, but considering how much spirit that consumes, probably not. It's probably just better to use I don't remember the name of the technique itself, but it's better to just block the projectiles and send them back to him. Especially since once they've fired, he's still on the ground. Very close, standing perfectly still. Well, I say very close, but you might not be close, depending on where it catches you. Regardless, I had another technique to use, another tactic or strategy that I could employ against his various annoyances. And so that went in the bank and was used against him in the final fight that led to his ultimate demise. He also had another attack where he would just be floating and then shoot himself at you. This hit me all of one time. Blew me the frick up when it did, but I can't say it would have done that if I had been full health. Again, between the CC of the arena and just the damage it's dealing to you over time, I was so busy watching him that I wasn't looking at my health bar aside from very specific points in time. So I would never have any idea where my health was at any point when I'm trying to deal damage to this guy or just trying to avoid his attacks. I reached a point where I had the tactics, but I just wasn't making any progress towards getting him killed. I could get him down to about 30% to half health consistently. Well, no, it was probably around 30% was consistent. Then I took a bit of a break, ate some cereal, came back and played him again. And that was I literally went in there, got cereal, came back, ate it. As soon as I was done, fought him again. And something clicked. But not until I had fought him, I think, 2 more times, and I realized I just don't have enough stats. I need more health, I need more spirit. So, as awkward as it was, after returning to the fight, after those 2 times I mentioned, I hit the start button and I went into the skill. Well, I had to put the book away, of course. Then I went to the skills. And I invested in health and spirit. The difference was night and day. I had more spirit to do more spirit-based things. I had more health to tank his nonsense when my tactics just got RNG'd. Because the meatball barrage, it can adapt pretty quickly to you launching yourself into the air. And as I said, if you're not in a position where you can immediately switch into focus, trying to go into the air is the next best thing. It's not perfect. And if your health isn't... I don't remember what level we had in health in the skill tree, but yeah, I just don't remember. I think I added 2 more. I think I upgraded it twice, maybe. I dumped so many artifacts into spirit and health that first time, and I knew since I would be reset that the experimenting would be fine. Basically, each encounter with the guy was technically the first, so each reset would mean those artifacts were never actually spent. Eventually, I did find the right amount of health and spirit that allowed me to also keep a greater number of artifacts. And I killed him. And it was glorious. Oh. And then he did the thing that makes you think that there's going to be another phase. And then he turned to ash and was no more. And I breathed the sighiest of sighs of relief. Because there's no way I would have made it through another phase whose attacks I did not know. Pywel was a monster. I overcame him, though. And it was worth it. So we got a couple of things from Pywel. I got an Abyss gear, and I didn't even know I had gotten the Abyss gear until later. But I had gotten an Abyss gear and this. The Memory of Ancient Nature, which apparently grants knowledge of all gatherables. This is how I came to you to learn about the gold veins and the fact that the things in here are actually usable and not just key items that you hold on to and they have an effect. Because I thought this was just something that you, as long as you're holding this, you gain 20% trade goods profit. That would have been fine. But apparently these were usable things, so I used the gold vein map, and that opened up the veins as you saw. Those are going to be all over the map, and they're just visible out there. It's literally just going to be a spot on the map, the picture of the mine, and nothing else, no context. Which is fine to me. So I decided to wait and use this until we got back to this episode and I could tell you that whole story. Now, before we get on to the next boss, I'm going to have to explain what our stats are and what we've got equipped and what's going on. So, one of the things I wanted to do was to rearrange, like I said at the end of the last episode, I wanted to rearrange my Abyss gear setup so I'd have more relevant stats on pieces I was intending to wear more consistently, especially the Blackwing leather armor, because I just like the look of it. I also did spend time upgrading stuff that I could, because over the course of that episode and the ones prior to it, I had accrued a significant amount of ore, just incidentally. So I used it. Better to use it than not, right? So yeah, as I said, I upgraded pretty much everything that I could, and, you know, that's great. I should probably get rid of this now that I think about it. I have a better earring I can actually put on that should give me extra stats. What is... Let's go with details. Yeah, the song is literally just a song, and there's no other point to it. Yeah, it doesn't appear that the song does anything. Hold on, let me... And... No, I want to get out of there. That's not right. It's on the right. Yeah, it definitely is equipped. Is that all it does? That's not right. I could have sworn it played fully when I did that before. Anyway, I wanted to see if it might increase your spirit regen, but since the goddamn thing won't actually play, that is a demerit in its favor, or... No, that'll just be a demerit. And from here on, I'm going to be looking to replace it, because I can't upgrade it. Therefore, it doesn't have an actual use to me. Anyway, as I said, upgraded what I could. Spent pretty much all of my resources to do so, which was the plan, so there's nothing to be bothered by. Then, I wandered over to the crafting side because I think I had picked up... Yeah, I had picked up a book of... What was it? I think a level 2 book of two-handed weapons of the world. And I just, you know, went through everything to see if there was anything new I could craft. There was. Also, I found this spear here. No, I think it was in this area, but it might have been in one of the other camps, not the one where the next boss was. The bismuth spear is where the other boss was, and I can now produce those, but I need the resources to do so. And so I also, during this time at the very end, right before I stopped playing, I went ahead and I sent my people out to do things. I sent them out to acquire food, which is extremely necessary for doing jobs in the first place, and I think, I don't remember what the other one is, and it doesn't really matter. They should be, For some reason, it's still daytime, so I have a sneaking suspicion time does not pass where I am right now. Which is a problem because I need time to pass for them to work. Weird. Running into it didn't do damage to me, so what did damage to me then? Anyway. Right. I didn't finish. Right. I was going through the two-handed weapons. And then I found it. The Renard cannon. This wasn't under bows. This wasn't under guns. This is under two-handed weapons. Wells musket. I mean, it kind of has a name. Its stats are low. It does have crit rate at level 2, though. Anyway. I found the Renard cannon. It was made clear in the menu that this thing... How do I put it? It made it clear that this was a gun. Oh, right. This is also a weapon that's used by certain enemies out here. And I can understand why they have Stormtrooper aim. I don't get why it works like that, but I can understand. Because fighting them, they don't typically hit you when they shoot. I can't think of a time when they did. But I'm just saying the time might exist, but I can't remember it. Nevertheless, I found this and I crafted it immediately and upgraded it to have 20 attack, and then I stuck some extra stuff on it. It has a level 2 crit rate at base, I think, or is that just crit rate from me having... I've moved stuff around, so I'd have certain stats at all times. Like the crit rate here and the attack speed. I combined the movement speed things. Unfortunately, that probably wasn't great. Because combining two level 2s, level 2 movement speed gear gives you 2 movement speed. But if you combine them, you only get 1 that's worth 3 movement speed. So, not great. But, as I said, I rearranged stats so that I'd have them on things and always have those stats. Even if I don't have the weapon out that the stats would be on. Like this. As long as I have this, I have Stamina Siphon and Spirit Siphon. I took Stamina Siphon off of this. As much as I like the look of it, I don't particularly care to swap to it. The two-handed swords are fine. Not really my bag, though. I'm more of a dual-wield man. I like the speed and flexibility of being able to respond at any point and change what I'm doing to defense or evasion. That's not an issue for this game, but in other games it tends to be. So that's my usual philosophy. I'll use any weapon whatsoever at any point in time, so long as it allows me to remain mobile and reactive is the term. In addition, I did craft these two. This one because I think it had the highest base attack without refinement. This one because it has level 2 crit rate, which if the weapon crits, it does more damage, so it having a slightly lower starting attack is technically mitigated. I've only used this one, and it was only after I used the Renard cannon, which it's everything. It's a spear. And you know I like the spear. I still haven't figured out that one attack, that a combo or whatever it is, but I'm trying. Nevertheless, back to, right. So as you can see, I've got movement speed all the time, crit rate. I don't have, I guess the Ronard cannon has level 1 crit rate naturally, and it's just getting extra from that gear. As far as Abyss gear combining is concerned, there's certain stuff that the witches we currently have access to can't upgrade. And that's stuff like attack speed and crit rate. Otherwise, I would have, because I have enough of those that I should be able to. I did make a mistake. I had a unique Abyss gear, and I fed it to the witch in order to combine it with something else to create a tier 2 thing, right? I thought it was going to be a unique, never before seen, you can't get this any other way but combining these two things, these two very specific things together. Would you like to know what it was that I acquired from combining those two? Well, one of them was not hard to get, but the other, I think the first one was a level 2 something or other. It might have been movement speed or something. It was a rank 2 gear though. And the other I no longer remember. But I wish I had done it. And now that I think about it, I could have undone it by just loading an autosave. I should have. Now that I think, I'm actually upset about that. I could go back to the previous save and check, but that seems like such a hassle. Regardless. I think I might actually have a save where that gear is still around. But as I said, I combined it in the expectation, not the mere hope. I was expecting to get a unique Abyss gear. What did I get? I got a rank 2. It was either... Hold on. Let me see. No. That's odd. So, it was either an attack speed or something. It was a basic gear. It wasn't unique. It wasn't rare. It was a basic gear. And I am upset by that. I spent 2 perfectly good gears to get something I could have had anyway. Frankly, something I already had, I'm pretty sure. Keep in mind, I'm telling you a story from, let's see, I'm pretty sure this was on Friday and it's currently Sunday. I'm supposed to record on Saturdays, but that just doesn't work out anymore. Regardless, I was not happy. I was actually so upset by it that I completely forgot that I could just load from an autosave and undo it. Now, I don't know if that system can result in you getting weird, rare things. But as things stand, in my ignorance of that, I would say never use it. It's not going to be worth it. Until I see evidence of the contrary, don't use it. Don't do it. Don't combine them. Just stick to these at base and leave it at that. Anyway, I grabbed all of my other gear that had Abyss gear on it, ripped all of that stuff out except for these, because these don't matter to me in any capacity on any planet, ever, anywhere. A 2% increase to your climb speed is nothing. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. I don't understand why I don't care. I just don't care. I don't remember where I got this from. I think, this dropped from a regular enemy. I beat him so badly he gave me a ring. He proposed, you could say. You shouldn't, but you could. Anyway, the Ronard cannon is a really cool spear. It does all the spear things, and it shoots. It also shoots. I may as well put it back on. Show it off. Also, shooting costs you absolutely nothing, and it's infinite. I wonder if I can use it to set stuff on fire. No. So it contains no fire. That's fine. What it does do, though, is cause normal enemies to drop to the ground. And so, from here, I fought my way all over the place. I probably went up here and then did the mining stuff and accidentally killed someone with a body slam. I tried to steal from one guy, tried to figure out how pickpocketing works. Didn't go too well, but, that's a me problem. Eventually, I found my way all the way over here. For some of the crimes I committed, nothing ever happened because I managed to get outside of the radius of awareness. One time, though, I accidentally... I stole a book of... I took a level 3 book of Two-Handed Swords of the World, but I forgot I didn't have the glove on, so everyone hated that. And I couldn't get out of the room and out of the radius in time, so I just reloaded from an autosave. Which reminds me that I don't save nearly as much as I should. I get so focused on the game, I don't even remember. You would think I'd be super excited that there's bismuth everywhere. I'm not. This stuff is not real. So, as you can see, you can shoot, and that requires that you hold the left shoulder button and then press the right trigger. The only problem is, it's super inaccurate past a certain point, so it's extremely inconsistent. But it's also a spear. You can use it to you can use the spear, do spear things, and then suddenly shoot. Now, I can't see health bars, so I can't see damage numbers. But the shooting does good damage. Not great, but good damage. It was through the course of fighting with the spear, liberating camps here and there, settlements, camps, and so on, that I found my way over here. I saw bismuth and I thought, may as well, right? I mean, it only made sense. So I tried to break some off. I'll show you. I tried to break some bismuth off, make myself richer. Yeah, for some reason the bismuth over here does that. Couldn't tell you why. I think this is one of the ones that don't break, which is a thing. Yeah, some of these over here just don't, which is certainly a choice. But the ones that do, they just disintegrate and leave nothing behind. That upset me. So I came down here to look around for more of them, figure out if they were all bad or what. And I woke something up. You will have seen it earlier when I came through here looking for a specific person for knowledge, or in the knowledge section. I don't know who this is, and I don't know why she's on my list. She opposed Caliburn or lost the power struggle. Yeah, so we're going to have to kill a black woman, or, well, a brown woman, and she's apparently out here somewhere, so she'll get the business, whether it's on camera or off. And if it's off camera, I will come back and tell you about it. But speaking of telling, it was the Queen Bismuth oarback crab that I encountered. I remember it now. I jumped off of one of the oar. Look. From above, this is obviously an arena. There is no question about that. I was up here, and I was looking around at all of this bismuth and thinking to myself, it can't all be fake, right? And it was nighttime, so there was something in the center there. I couldn't really see what it was. It was some sort of a camp or formation or something. I paid it no mind. But I saw this area and thought, no, this looks a lot like an arena. It's either an arena or a camp with that thing at the center. And I thought it looked more like a camp because the thing in the center was just a thing. It had no definition or anything. So I ran down here looking to break some more bismuth, probably over on that side. And a health bar appeared at the top of the screen. And I knew we were in for another fun time. Little did I know just how absurd the Renard cannon really is at the time. Now, when I fought this thing, I was scared. She was big. She was real big. There was not a lot of space in this arena to remain at a safe distance from her. And so I had to assume that anything she could hit me with would probably kill me in 2 hits, given my... I'm sorry, did the ground just flare up at random? Is that what did damage to me earlier? Because I was taking extra damage over time. So the ground just randomly flares up? I hate that. Anyway, she was big, and I was small. I still gave it to her, as you can see. Liberate the frick out of this place. But unlike with Pravis, the story of her downfall was but a single fight, and not particularly interesting in itself. I discovered pretty quickly that the Renard cannon does stamina damage, or stagger damage, or whatever the meter underneath the boss's health bar is. And not a small amount either. I'm talking 10 to 15% more if you were able to hit her weak spots. And because I landed on top of her and saw, ooh, bismuth, I did the usual thing and I Fusrodad. I'm still amazed at the range of that, by the way. Anyway, I shattered a bunch of the crystals that she had on her back, or not crystals, but ore, and left some glowing spots up there. I had no idea what to do about that. I just saw they were there and like, okay. Also, none of the ore on her back was real. Just what I needed to the bait and switch. Just more of it. But because it was a boss fight, I had no time to be depressed about it. So she threw me off of her back after a bit. I kept trying to break the ore that was up there because it didn't seem like she liked it. She also shot jets of something, either air or water, at high pressure. It didn't hit me, but I noticed it. After she threw me off, it was basically time to just run around and avoid her damage while learning how she would attack. And she did the giant enemy thing where she would mostly stomp around, slam, things like that. Her main source of damage output was slamming her front legs down and shooting out. It was nighttime, so I couldn't really see all that clearly. But shooting out these, I guess, I keep wanting to call them crystals because they shatter like it, but I guess they were little balls of bismuth ore or something. I noticed this rock right here is floating. I'm okay with that. They hit me on occasion, but they didn't do very much damage. So I wasn't particularly concerned about them. I just wanted to make sure I didn't take too many hits and stop paying attention before I healed. Otherwise, that damage would accrue pretty quickly, and then I'd lose in a fight that there really wasn't any chance of me losing. Apparently, she had 2 health bars. I didn't know that at the time. I figured her health bar being blue meant she had armor or something, which made sense in the moment because giant rock crab creature. So I figured the blue bar meant it would just take less damage, but you would just have to, push through. And so I did. I quickly learned, as I said, that the Renard cannon dealt staggered damage in significant quantities to her. So I would run across the arena as far from her as possible and just let loose. And being the largest possible target on the planet meant you could not miss. Being the slowest target on the planet meant you could not miss. As long as the crosshair is in her general direction, she's catching those bullets. And I say bullets, but I don't really know what this thing is firing. And so she did. And she would drop down, and eventually the fight had gone on long enough to where the game tells me, you can look for weak points by just doing that, right? And I go, yeah, I know that. Why does that matter? In order to find out, I do it. And apparently, the glowing spots that I opened up when I first landed on her back at the very beginning, apparently those were her weak spots. Now, I had no idea whatsoever how to utilize them. Once I knew they at first, to be fair, at first I thought they were her legs and I had broken them or something, and so I went to her sides and started attacking the legs, but nothing ever changed. So I figured I'd misunderstood, or I was just not able to get in there. And because I would be all the way at the other end of the arena from her, I didn't have a lot of time to get to her once I got the shot off that would stun her. Because she would do a whole long fall animation and then just stay on the ground prone. But that wouldn't last very long, and so my DPS opportunity was constantly winding down and trying to go around her to whatever these supposed weak points were. I tried going around to both sides, but nothing ever really came to fruition from it. And so I figured the game was making it all up, and none of the weak points were real. I will say, the weak points were real. How you're supposed to utilize them, I could not even begin to tell you. I jumped on her back multiple times, trying to use... I used the palm, I used my... Right. So, part of the DPS phase, the spear, that's fine. But... Oh, right, I forgot to tell you about the other thing that Wordplay dropped. Right, so Wordplay also dropped another thing. I told you it was an Abyss gear. I did not tell you that the Abyss gear, where is it, was already slotted. Right, I also took the Abyss gear off of the shield because I don't really use it that often, and mainly the main focus for using it tended to be, well, the Howling Chaos gear that I had put on it. I also took the... Oh, shield. Yeah, there they are. I also took the Abyss gear off of this, which we got from the boss fight. None of them were particularly interesting, just so you're aware. It was damage reduction, defense maybe, something like that. Nothing of note. What we got from Wordplay was Ancient Wrath, the Abyss gear underneath Crow's Pursuit. Now I know you're looking at this and you're going, you have 2 attack, and this is an attack by the way, you have 2 attack gears on a single weapon. Yes, I do. I would make it 3, but I didn't really want to take everything away from the Sword of the Lord. It's done very good work for us. And so, I put these 2 weapons to work. I never used Ancient Wrath. I have no idea what it looks like, how it works, or if it's even useful to me. It may just be a waste of my time. We will find out sooner or later. Probably not this episode, because I'm pretty sure we're past an hour now. I saw the laptop screen start to darken, and that usually only happens after about an hour. But I will say, I will do this. Nope, that's not the right one. I will do this. I think I read what it did while upgrading or something, because I know it summons... I read that it summons ancient or orbs or something that attack the target. I mean, I might have read it when I took it out of when I put it into the weapon, because I didn't know I had it until I started slotting stuff in. Yeah, that's what happened. It was while I was up rearranging the Abyss gear that I noticed, what is Ancient Wrath? And it only appears for weapons, so I wouldn't have noticed until I had started slotting stuff into this one. So that's basically what happened. So I read what it did, but I don't know what it looks like. It summons orbs that attack the target. I can't wait to see what that does. I never used it against the boss. It requires a very specific input, as you can see there, so I just never did that. Now I would just do everything else that I would normally do with the... Actually, I wanted to take Wound of Darkness off of this and put it on the sword. And shame on me for forgetting that, but I also put Howling of Chaos on here because I tend to block a lot. And even incidentally, now that we've unlocked the ability to parry attacks with our attacks. So on occasion, Howling of Chaos is just going to work. Well, actually, Howling of Chaos only works if you press the left shoulder button to block or parry attacks. So the attack parry won't work for that, which sucks. If the condition for it were to simply parry an attack, that would give it greater usability. So I could see myself removing Howling of Chaos in order to add Wound of Darkness. Because one of the things I was doing was I was using these. I would do the entire combo, mix in some lights, try to finish with heavies, and then do that during the damage phase for the orb back. It worked really well. The damage they now do is obscene. I think that in the fight with Pravis, I also upgraded this to maximum. Yeah, so we still have this. So, supposedly, according to the tooltip here, with investment in armed combat, the damage of your melee weapon attacks increases. I never noticed that against Pravis. Remember that first time I said I changed my stats against him? I leveled that all the way up. I noticed no damage difference whatsoever. Nothing. It feels partly untrue. It feels like I noticed maybe a little bit, but the difference would have been so insignificant that as I sit here, I'm not entirely convinced it's true. The difference in damage from level 2 to level 5 is so insignificant, at least in terms of where a boss's health is. You just don't notice. That's something I also wanted to let you guys know. I still leveled it up though, because, I mean, chaff dying faster is chaff dying faster. And I guess you could say it's noticeable with the spear, but anyway, back to the ore back. So it turns out that I also hit her with the Force Palm, which is supposed to apparently reduce enemy defense. Now, I don't know if that actually affects bosses or not. I know it affected Antumbra's sword because he had the green glow on it. So it definitely works on bosses. But I never noticed any significant... well, it at least applies to them. I don't know if it actually works on them. I don't know if it actually decreases their defense for certain. Sometimes it feels like a placebo. Sometimes it feels like it works. I can't be certain. But I can, as always, I did it with the ore back just to be on the safe side and to increase my DPS. And because you can fit that in between your combo without, breaking stride too much, I would do it. Never felt impactful though. And I was still chipping away at her blue health while trying to figure out what was going on with the weak points that they said existed but didn't do anything and couldn't be utilized. I did notice, however, on occasion, I would land hits on her sides it's difficult to say. It's difficult to really explain just how big she was. She was. Remember the tanks from the little war we had with the black bears a little bit ago? Pretty sure that was last episode. Last episode was good. She was much larger than those by about. She was about 2.5 times larger. So, as I said, I would be on the far side, and I would target. No, he doesn't have that equipped. There we go. She would be on the far side, and on occasion, she would rear up to try and stomp the ground and shoot the bismuth ore at me, but because it was always in just a random pattern that would go a certain distance, I was never in any real danger, so long as I stayed far enough away. And I would just fire at her until she would hit the ground stunned. And on occasion, for no particular reason that I could discern, she would just take a massive amount of stamina damage, or stagger damage. I've got to pick one, right? I mean, they are stunned. Yeah, so it's more like a stun bar. So we will refer to it as stunning. Her stun bar would jump by, instead of 10 or 15%, by about 20. So it probably wasn't even 15%. It was probably between 10 and 13-ish. And then all of a sudden, I would land a shot somewhere, and it would just, as you could see, that shot went wide for no particular reason. I was aiming over here. It's like someone who's cockeyed, is looking over in this direction for some reason. And that's one of the issues with the gun, which is why you don't use it for consistent damage. You do some damage with the melee attacks, and you fire off a salvo. You knock somebody on the ground, fire off a salvo. That sort of a thing. That's how I've used it against enemies who have 2 legs. Moving back to the Orback. As I said, she would take bonus stun damage. And I can see now, after what happened when I killed her, I can see now that she was taking extra damage from hits to her weak point, which this weapon's shots could apparently time is finally freaking passing. The passage of time used to be a lot faster, right? It's weird how long it's taking. Like, I'm waiting for the guys to get their dispatch stuff done, and this is just taking forever. I know the dispatch that I sent them on are really long ones. One is 17 hours, I think. But we get so much food out of it, it's worth it all on its own. Moving back to the Orback, because I get distracted. I was hitting her weak points, incidentally. But the weak points didn't really matter when she had... Okay, I don't know. I wasn't really paying attention, and that during the fight, I had no idea what was going on. I just knew on occasion she was taking bonus stun damage. And there were no other effects, nothing I could notice. I was focused solely on the stun bar and getting that maxed out. Then I would rush her, deal damage. I don't know if that's how you're supposed to deal with her first health bar, which I thought was her main health bar because only red was underneath, so surely once the bar was done, she would die, right? No. I eventually DPS'd her blue bar down to nothing, revealing the red bar underneath, her second health bar. I had no problem with it. She had given me no problems whatsoever. She was really easy to deal with. And so I rinsed and repeated. But something changed with her red health bar. I don't know if the blue bar really was an armor phase or something, but her red health bar went down fast. Meanwhile, I was still getting that bonus stun damage while trying to figure out how to utilize the supposed weak points that were being exposed to me, or not being exposed, but hopefully you understand, that were there, but I had no idea how to make use of them. I don't think I tried the crouching palm, but again, you're on her back, and if you're up there for too long, she'll fire off those jets, which will shoot you all the way into the air. Which isn't a big problem. The problem is that does a lot of damage. So you want to make sure you're always full health when you're up there. But outside of that, she wasn't a real threat, and the weak points didn't seem to be doing anything. But her red bar was decreasing pretty quickly. At one point, I'm sure it was at half, and then it was at 30%. And I don't know what happened. I noticed it. But I can't say for certain that it's actually a real thing, and I didn't just DPS her bar down there normally. But what I suspect happened is that I hit her weak point with the Renard cannon before she was actually stunned. Oh, and make no mistake, I did try using the bow on her weak point. I got on her back, aimed the bow, did the focus thing, fired a shower of arrows into her supposed weak point. No effect. I'm perfectly fine with experimenting on bosses and stuff like that when there's ample opportunity and I'm in no significant danger while doing so. But getting up there, thinking to do that, doing it, and having nothing come from it, that didn't feel good. So that might have ended up being the last time I actually cared about the weak points. But again, I'm relaying a story from more than 2 days ago. So a few details may slip here and there. Ultimately, remember, I said it appeared she went from half health to about 30%. That was confusing. But I just kept doing, I know, it's a weird sensation. If you've experienced it, you'll know what I'm talking about. Where you see something, but you're not certain you saw it, but it feels like something happened that you noticed, and you're just not certain enough that you should acknowledge it as being real. But remember, I'm keeping track of her health and all of the other stuff you do with boss fights. In the meantime, my eyes are glued to her stamina bar, and I notice something. And I'm not sure I noticed something, but it feels like I noticed something. And she's all of a sudden at 30% health. I down her again, do some DPS. She's back up again, right? I go to do the normal thing of feeling her stun bar, and she's still at about 30%-ish health. And she just dies. I hear a sound. The salvo lands, and there's like sort of a clashing of swords sound or something. It's a really high, sharp sound. And that 30% health I just keep going on about vanishes. And she dies. That is why I'm certain but not certain but kind of certain that I noticed something. Because a chunk of her health just gone. And I all of a sudden understood the weak points were real. And I had been utilizing them incidentally the entire time. Remember, I've said it a few times now. I was only ever paying attention to her movements and her stun meter, and trying to fill the meter while avoiding her movements. Well, her actions, more accurately. Because for the most part, as long as I was filling her stun meter, she would be content to stay in one spot. The Ronard cannon stays on in bed, is all I'm going to say. And so that is pretty much everything I did that's of significant note in between last episode and this one. I didn't expect to be relaying that entire story for what feels like about an hour, and it's starting to get dark out, which means the video I'm uploading is not going to go up on time, but it's fine. It's Sunday, so it's not like it has a predetermined time it's supposed to go up on anyway, or up at. But I do have to finish the thumbnail for that thing. Can't just send it out there into the world naked. You have to dress these things up real nice like. But I'm pretty sure that's everything of note. I didn't fight anything interesting other than those two. I really wish the Skull Knight had been alive so I could have given him the business too, but I undid his existence accidentally. There is something else out in the cold region. I don't remember where specifically. But it's somewhere out in the mountains. Real far. Where there are lanterns you can light that summon the floating annoyances. We'll call them floating agents of cancer. And you're trying to, for some reason, I think you're supposed to light all of the lanterns because the guys only appear once you start lighting them, which means lighting them does something. But the lanterns are all over the place, and I don't remember where this area is. It's not down there. Frozen Mountain of Frozen Souls. I just don't remember where the place is. But that's something else I want to figure out as well. Oh, right. Last episode we crossed paths with one of the witches. We'll have to go there next time. So, next episode, we're going to have a lot. What is this? Forgotten Wyvern Nest. Ooh. But then again, I don't really have a way to cross that much sea, so maybe not. Ooh. If I can get high enough, maybe I can fly across, but anyway. There are still things out there to be dealt with, and lesser things for us to address as well. And frankly, I'm going to leave those for next episode, which I'm going to be recording immediately after this. Nevertheless, I hope you guys have enjoyed yourselves, and story time of happenings between episodes. I don't want this sort of thing to be common, because, unless you're actively watching, well, if you're doing something on the side, this is probably perfectly fine, right? You don't have to actually pay attention. I really done anything except exhibition certain things like the Renard cannon and changes to my abyss gears and things like that. But for an episode, it's probably a really good listen, at the very least, while you're doing something else. So I hope you were doing something else. Next episode, we will be getting back into the swing of things and swinging the Renard cannon at things. I think we'll start with the witch, so we can get whatever it is she has to offer us, and then I guess we can return to the guy we were supposed to be doing something for last episode, and see where we go from there, because I really want to get the reward from the abyss that we did last episode. I want that. I deserve it. It is mine. And so I'm going to do all of the stuff I think I need to do in order to get what's coming. And I can't really think of a better way to phrase it. And so, with all that said, we will see you next time.